Now, welcome to another Let's Talk Some Star Wars, though we're actually going to be talking anything but Star Wars this time, because this week the poll question was not even a poll question, it was just a question that asked you, not including Star Wars, what would you consider your favorite quote-unquote franchise, and why? And after getting 525 comments telling me what your favorite franchise other than Star Wars was, I decided the best thing to do with that information wasn't necessarily to just read comments, but was to compile a list, a top 10 list of your favorite not Star Wars franchises, to basically see what else Star Wars fans are into, assuming that, yes, if you watch my channel, as I always say, I'm going to assume you are or were a pretty big Star Wars fan. And so I was curious what else you might be into, and there were actually 98 different things that people listed as their favorite non-Star Wars franchise, and the vast, vast majority of them I had some sort of experience with, if not a lot of experience. There were only a handful that I either didn't hear of at all, or had never seen a movie from, or a show, or played a game, or read a book from. But anyway, before getting to the top 10 on the list, there were a few rules I went by. If you put more than one thing down, I kind of disqualified your comment. I'm sorry. Not many people did that, but some kind of listed their favorite non-Star Wars things, and if you didn't make it clear which one was the favorite out of them, I just kind of didn't use it. Again, apologies, I didn't make this clear what I was going to do when I posted the question. Then again, I didn't know what I was going to do when I posted the question. Also, one of the more interesting takeaways from this is, or one of the most surprising things not to make the list or to make the top 10 list, and it actually only got, I think, 5 votes, was Marvel or the MCU. I thought maybe top 5 at the very least. I thought for sure it would make the top 10, but it actually was a few votes shy of that. But anyway, let's get right into it with the number 10, which is actually a tie for ninth place, or a four-way tie for ninth place, actually. And at the very end of the video, or towards the very end, I'm just going to put the list up of everything that got voted on, and I'll try to put it in order for you as well. Alright, preamble finally done. The four-way for ninth place included, all of which got 7 votes. The first one is Avatar: The Last Airbender, and if you're curious, the other Avatar didn't make the list with like 1 or 2 votes. But this is something I have a ton of experience with, and more recently, because I only watched the series, I think maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. I have not seen The Legend of Korra. Some people tell me I have to watch it, others tell me I should avoid it at all cost, or they'll say I think the second season is good and the rest of it is bad. But anyway, I have seen the series. I saw the movie from a few years ago after having seen the series, and I can understand why everybody hates that movie. Also saw the Netflix show, and I enjoyed it. Some people didn't. Maybe that's because I'm not like the hugest fan of Avatar. I do enjoy it. I love it. I don't know it in and out like I would say Star Wars. So little changes, little differences didn't really bother me. I just like the series. But moving on, also in ninth place, that big four-way tie at ninth place with 7 votes each was Elder Scrolls, which kind of surprised me. Now, I've played Morrowind, I have played Skyrim, I love both of them, but I didn't think it would make the top 10, especially when you see some of the things that it was ahead of. Again, at the end, I'll try to put that list up there. But they're great games, really love them. I don't know much else about the series. I think there is an MMO, there might be books, I have no idea. I've only played the games, that's the extent of my experience with it. I loved them both, but didn't think it would be up here, so a surprise to be sure, but not an unwelcome one. Also then in ninth place, another video game franchise, Mass Effect, which I have, I'm ashamed to admit it, 0 experience with. I have played none of the games. I get yelled at all the time by people I know for not playing any of these games, but I haven't. I don't know if there are books or anything else that goes along with Mass Effect. I know virtually nothing about it. A little, again, surprised to see it up here, considering some of the things it beat out, but hey, I guess people love Mass Effect, and maybe I should try the games out. Last but not least in the four-way tie for ninth place then is Indiana Jones, which, not surprised to see that one up here. I thought it might crack the top 10, and it barely did. I am a huge fan of Indiana Jones. I have seen all 5 of the movies. I guess there are 5. I have enjoyed most of them, the first 3 in particular. I saw the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles back in the day. I'm a big fan of all of it, so I'm happy to see it here, and not surprised to see it here either. We then move on, and again we have a tie, this time only 2 of them, so we have a tie for 7th place, each getting 8 votes, and the first one is Godzilla, which kind of surprised to see that one up here. I know a lot of people just kind of love Godzilla. I've kind of been an outside admirer of it most of my life. I remember when I was young, there would always be like Godzilla movies on TV, and I'd watch them, and they were fine. My wife, though, is a huge Godzilla fan, so she's going to be happy to know it cracked the top 10. But anyway, I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of Godzilla. I've enjoyed some of the newer movies. I've seen some of the older ones and enjoyed them as well, like I said. So I wouldn't say I have a ton of experience with it. And then also in seventh place was DC, which I find interesting that DC made the list and Marvel did not. And for the record, I didn't include individual properties in this because some people just said Batman. And I could have put Batman into this category, but I didn't. So these are just the people that said DC, and they didn't specify between necessarily comic books or the DCU or the movies. And I think one person specifically said animated stuff, and I did include that in here as well. I have quite a bit of experience with DC in my life. I've enjoyed it. I've read some Superman comics over the years. Superman has always been my favorite DC character ever since Christopher Reeve movies back in the day when I was very, very young. But I love those movies. I read some comic books, mainly Marvel growing up, and Star Wars, but I did have a few DC in my collection. I remember having my bagged version of the death of Superman back in the early 90s, whenever that was, when Doomsday killed him and then he came back. But whatever, I'm a fan of DC. Not surprised to see it on the list, though again, surprised Marvel didn't make it. And moving right along now, we have yet another tie, this time for fifth place, and only two of them, and don't worry, this is our last tie, but they both got 9 votes, and the first one is Doctor Who, which I've seen some Doctor Who. I've seen mostly the Matt Smith and some of the Tennant ones before him, and then Capaldi after. I've really enjoyed what I've seen. It's something I've meant to go back and watch more of, and just never quite found the time. And I'm not surprised to see this one here at all. I mean, Doctor Who's been around forever, and I think that is obviously an advantage. The longer you've been around, the more likely you are to have accumulated fans. Though it is interesting to note that there weren't too many votes for really new properties. Most of these properties I feel like were at least 10 years old, if not 20 years or older. And again, I mean, that makes sense, right? They've been around longer, they've had more chances to acquire fans. But it is interesting that nothing in the last decade or so left a mark on this survey, let's call it. But anyway, Doctor Who made it. Happy and not surprised to see it here. And tied with it was actually something I thought might do better, and that is Harry Potter. It also got 9 votes and is tied here for 5th place. And I've seen all the movies. I have never read any of the books. And I like Harry Potter quite a bit. It's not my favorite thing, but I know there are a lot of people out there who love it. So again, I wouldn't have been surprised to see it finish even higher than this. But certainly is one of the biggest franchises of the last 25 years. And again, not surprised there are a lot of people who watch Star Wars or watch my channel who have also enjoyed this. Moving on then to 4th place, getting 12 votes, was A Song of Ice and Fire, also known as Game of Thrones, and most people seem to reference the series. Some people did mention the books or mentioned both, but I mean, this one isn't a shock either at all. Game of Thrones took the world by storm there for about a decade, and yes, it maybe didn't end the strongest, but it certainly had a following, certainly has a ton of fans, and maybe someday George R.R. Martin will finish the books. Probably not, so we'll have to live with how HBO decided to end it. But anyway, I have obviously seen the series, I've read all the books, and no surprise to see this make the top 4 here. In 3rd place, then, is something I have almost no experience with other than the fact that people are always telling me to check it out, and somebody sent me a lore video, like a 20-minute lore video not long ago that I watched, and I was captivated by it, and I've been meaning to look more into it and maybe get into it eventually. And that is, with 16 votes, Warhammer 40k. Now, again, I've only seen like one cool lore video about it. I've seen some of these animated things online that I think fans have been doing that looked really cool too. I'm sorry, I'm really butchering what that actually was, but I've seen it. It looked cool. I've been meaning to get more into it. I know a lot of people are very, very into this and love this and wish it would kind of take over what Star Wars is. I've seen a lot of people saying it's like the next Star Wars or should be. But anyway, a little surprised to maybe see it finish 3rd. But again, if it's kind of the next Star Wars, or if people compare it to that, maybe I shouldn't be surprised that a lot of Star Wars fans are into it. All right, and now we move on to number 2, getting 19 votes, and it is Star Trek, which, yeah, I mean, Star Wars and Star Trek are kind of brothers that hate each other is the best way I've always thought of them. I mean, they're not totally the same, they're not totally different, but they always do seem to get mentioned in the same breath, and I know there is a ton of crossover between the two. I am a huge Star Trek fan. My dad sat me down when I was very young and made me watch the original series. I might have been too young to fully grasp a lot of it, but I did enjoy it, and then The Next Generation started up when I was maybe like 11 or 10, and I watched every single episode of that with my father, so I have a lot of personal attachment to Star Trek because of that, and even if I didn't, I've enjoyed Star Trek. I've enjoyed most of what I've seen. I've kind of ignored or Not seen most of the newer stuff, other than Picard Season 3, which I thought was good. But yeah, absolutely no surprise to see Star Trek be number 2. All right, and now finally moving on to number 1. And do keep in mind that Star Trek got 19 in second place, but in first place with 73 votes was Lord of the Rings, or the Legendarium of J.R.R. Tolkien. And I don't think this comes as a surprise to anyone. Maybe the sheer dominance of it comes as a surprise. That got like, I think 15% of the votes, if I'm doing the math in my head. If we consider there were about 500 that actually voted, again, 25 or so listed multiple things. So it's like 15% of people who can choose from absolutely anything they wanted, any kind of franchise they wanted, which is why I try to put it in quotations there to let you know you could pretty much pick whatever you want or consider whatever you want a franchise. But roughly 15% of people say of anything they can choose from, Lord of the Rings is the best of the best, or maybe second best to Star Wars. It would be interesting to pit the two against each other. Maybe I'll put up a poll asking which one do you like better, Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, though it's really not the fairest competition of them all, because this is a Star Wars channel primarily. Though if Lord of the Rings beats it, that would be pretty impressive, though Star Wars is also not exactly in a position of strength right now. But neither is Lord of the Rings after Rings of Power. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and just say, of course, this deserves to be number 1. I think it is the greatest work of fiction ever, arguably. Not only did Tolkien create an entire world, but he created an entire history for that world. He created languages, he created myths and legends. He created, again, I think the greatest work of fiction I have personally ever read. I have read The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit multiple times in my life. I have read The Silmarillion. It is not the easiest read in the world. I've only tackled it once, and that was many years ago, but I did get a lot out of it, I think. So I love Lord of the Rings. It is probably my number 2 to Star Wars, though there are other things on this list and that didn't make this list that I enjoy as well. But I do certainly feel like this deserves the number 1 spots. All right, well, I think that is going to be all I got for you this time. So what I'll do now is I will put the list up on screen, the full list. I'll put it alphabetically. I think that's probably easier. You can just look up what you want to look up to see how many votes it got. You can go through the whole list. You can ignore it. You can have already clicked away, I suppose. Here's the list. Enjoy it. And again, thank you to everybody who took the time to leave a comment. I read through all of them, as you can see. And I appreciated it because, as I've talked about in the past, it's been a while, but it is still a thing I'm kind of working on. But I do want to create my own shared universe where everybody and anybody who wants to create in it can do that. And I'm just curious to kind of understand what people enjoy about different franchises or shared universes. What is the appeal to them, so I can maybe incorporate that into my own. But anyway, I hope to talk more about that in the future. So do take to the comments below. Tell me what you think of the list. Tell me what you thought of this video. Tell me what you think makes a good franchise. Whatever you decide to do, though, leave those comments below and let's talk everything but Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.